Hi, so a friend of mine has just started using her first virtual assistant, and she asked me a question the other day, which was, what kind of tasks should I start to give my VA first? And is it more risky to give them some tasks rather than others? So I actually went through a little bit of a diagram showing the process that I use, and I'm going to share that with you this week, coming right up. Okay, so what sort of tasks should you be giving your virtual assistant in those early days and weeks? Right, the way that I explained this to my friend was using a 4-box matrix. So being a consultant, we've got to have a 4-box matrix. Let me just draw this up and we'll make sure that we've got that all in shot. Yes, we have. Now, why do we start on this journey of utilizing a virtual assistant? Number one, it's to get your time back so that you can spend more time doing high value things in your business, and generally that's sales and marketing and spending time with customers. And the other thing is, well, I'll come to that in a minute because it's not one that people think of immediately. It's getting your time back. So what kind of tasks would you give your virtual assistant right out of the gate? You're not going to give them things that are high risk that they might screw up on. So I always suggest you start with easy tasks, but tasks that are going to give you a lot of your time back, time that you can spend with customers or maybe relaxing. If you're like me, you were working way too many hours before you discovered virtual assistants. I've eased my hours back now and expanded the number of businesses that I'm running. So what are we going to put on this matrix? On the y-axis, we're going to put time. So what I'd like you to think about to begin with, and maybe start jotting down some notes while you're watching this video, is what are some of the really time-consuming things that you do which you could easily pass on to someone else to free up your time. So that is on this axis. What will free up your time? On the horizontal axis, we're going to be talking about value to the business. What value can your virtual assistant add to the business, not just to you freeing up your time? Okay, let's start with the easy ones. What's the bane of our lives? Dealing with email. Well, you could certainly start off having your VA help you manage your email, not necessarily replying to them in the first instance, but one of the first tasks I tried with the VA was, look, you go through all my emails a couple of times a day, and I want you to put them into different folders. Ones that you think are customers, ones that you think are just sort of junk or marketing, and ones you're not sure of. And then a couple of times a day, I could sort of check those. So that was an enormous help. And like half of my emails were just junk. I didn't even need to look at them. So certainly helping you manage your emails. What about, do you do a lot of documents for customers, maybe proposals and reports? A virtual assistant can easily help you with all of the formatting. So, you know, your value is in actually writing the material, not in the formatting. And why don't you have someone who's far more professional and trained at it to do that for you? So that's certainly what I do. I don't worry about what it looks like. I pass it to a VA to make it look really good. Do you write blog posts and things like that, social media posts? You may be writing them, but do you actually have to post them and format them? So I do a lot of posting on a whole range of different social media platforms. Some of them require some really professional formatting. On my blogs, for example, I want those to look really nice with diagrams and really nice text formatting. So I get my VAs to do the blog posting. So certainly I'm writing the material, but I don't want to be spending my time posting them on all the various blogs that I've got. Answering the phone, that's an easy one. My whole team, because I'm based in Sydney, my whole team have Sydney phone numbers, which is easy. And if you didn't realise, my whole team's based in the Philippines, my back office team, that is. So they all have Sydney phone numbers because I'm based in Sydney. That's a couple of benefits really. So if my clients need to be calling my executive assistant, they can on a Sydney phone number, and that's no hassle to them. But also, whilst I spend a lot of time talking to my VAs on Skype and things like that, sometimes when I'm on the road, that's a little bit awkward, and literally maybe when I'm driving. So I will ask them to give me a call on my phone. So they've all got phone numbers as well. So, you know, it costs next to nothing. You might as well have all those options. What about social media replies? Maybe you're a bit of a a social media star and you're getting all these messages coming in and it's just, too many to reply to, probably most of them are quite standard, like, oh, really loved your video, loved your post. Your virtual assistant can actually be replying to that. Oh, thanks, glad it was helpful, all those really simple ones. So that's taking time or giving you time back. What about managing your diary? That's probably not one that you do initially, but certainly I would get into that sort of, within a short space of time. That has given me so much freedom. I can remember saying to someone, working in sort of corporate life, I never actually had a personal assistant. And when I had my first virtual personal assistant 8 years ago, I asked a couple of people and said, well, how does this work? And one of my friends who's worked in a lot of large corporates as CEO and so on, he said, basically hand over your diary to your executive assistant and don't screw it up. You leave the diary to her. And that's what I did 8 years ago, and it's worked great. So clients quite understand that. If they want to get a phone meeting or a physical meeting with me, they know who to contact. They contact my EA, not me. And my executive assistant totally manages my diary. So if people ring me and say, hey, can we meet on Thursday? I'll say, that's fine, I'll get my EA to check in with you. So managing the diary is tremendously valuable. If you've got the guts to hand over your diary, I can recommend it. What about travel? I travel an enormous amount of time. I'm flying probably once a week at the moment at least, sometimes twice a week. So, I don't want to be hassled. My executive assistant knows that if I've got to have a meeting in Melbourne at 10 o'clock, she knows it takes me at least an hour to get from the airport, but allow 90 minutes, in case of delays and things like that. So she just works back and books an appropriate flight. Travel, what else could we have? Answering the phone, we've got. What then happens once you've got these sorts of activities going, and once your VA understands, how the working relationship is going and understands how you work and how your business works, you can then start to give them more valuable tasks to do. So you've already freed up a lot of time doing this stuff. Think about some of the other things. What about calling customers? Do you call customers trying to make appointments? I don't. My executive assistant does that. I just find it too frustrating. I get voicemails and they're not available. That's wasting my time. I could be doing something much more valuable. So calling customers to make appointments, my executive assistant does it. What about responding to leads? A little bit like the social media messages. A lot of those are going to be fairly routine and quite simple, and maybe there's a standard answer that could be used. Your VA could be responding to those. What about formatting proposals? More important documents and helping you even put together the bones of a proposal. Whatever it is you do, maybe there's 5 or 6 key things that you do. Your virtual assistant could maybe do the first stage of getting all the standard things together, and then you're halfway there to actually write the proposal. This is an interesting one. Replying to customer emails. Would you have the guts to allow your virtual assistant to do that one? Yeah, I do, no problem. My current executive assistant has been my EA for about 12 months. She's been on my team for 2 years, and then my previous executive assistant, due to family reasons, had to leave, and my current one stepped up and said, hey, I kind of know you, know how you operate, give me a go at this role. So she's been doing it for 12 months. I have total confidence now, well, I did within the first few months, to allow her to respond to customer emails, which is really good because I don't have to worry about stuff. I mean, if I'm going to be tied up all day or if I'm traveling, I basically say, please monitor my emails, ring in and check my voicemail, so she can check all the voicemail messages. If there's anything urgent, she'll ring back the client. Rob's traveling, can I help? It might be about scheduling a meeting. Frequently during the day, if I'm traveling, I'll be checking my emails and I'll say, oh great, my EA's responded to a client request for something and she sent it, So that's the sort of thing that you ought to be aiming to get towards. That's really valuable. So freeing up your time is great, but then these value-adding activities is going to take a lot off your shoulders and really take that stress off. Okay, so what goes down the bottom here, you might be thinking? Well, people always start off with virtual assistants because they want to free up their time. which is great, you know, and that is a major benefit of having a virtual assistant. There's no doubt about that. You know, you're going to get back, put a number on it, I don't know. You're probably going to get back 10 hours a week to begin with, then probably 20 hours a week. But down here, this is where the magic really starts to happen. Well, it's starting to happen here, but down below here, you can start to be doing some of the things that you never ever thought you'd have time to do. So these are tasks that you're doing, which you're now getting someone else to do. Down here, we've got some tasks that you never even got to. So start thinking about some of those. What about website upgrades? How often do you upgrade your website? It's not hard these days. Most people are using WordPress websites, very easy to use. Do you produce lots of videos like I do? I love shooting videos, and years ago I used to do the editing. I don't anymore. It's way too time consuming, and to be honest, I have a video editor in my virtual assistant team who is way better than I am. So what about video editing? In fact, I'm going to have to get a second video editor, because my editor, Louis, is absolutely flat out. We produce so many videos. What about infographics? So people love infographics. They're great for social media. They take a bit of time to put together. What do? I sketch out a rough idea and I shoot it across to one of my VAs, and they come up with the whole design and the concept and so on. Really good. CRM management. Do you have a CRM system? I'm terrible at keeping our CRM up to date, which really annoys our general manager. So what am I talking about? You know, leads, prospects, customers, you know, keeping that whole customer relationship management system up to date. I'm really bad at that sort of detail. Who does it? My executive assistant, who's based in the Philippines. And she does a much better job of it than me, and will prompt me almost on a daily basis. This proposal's due in on Friday, Rob. Have you got that done? Do you want me to schedule time in your diary? Yep, okay, I'll need a couple of hours for that. What's the status of this customer that you spoke to last Thursday in Brisbane? You know, we need to update the CRM. And so, you know, people operate in different ways. Maybe you love systems and you love all that kind of detail. I'm just not good with it. And so I'd rather someone's managing me and prompting me and sort of saying, you know, quick phone call, what's happening? And I can, you know, just give verbal instructions and it all gets updated, which is great. So all of this stuff, you know, might be things that you haven't had time for yet. Then we can start to get really serious about having a virtual back office, because maybe, do you do the bookkeeping? Do you have a bookkeeper? VAs can be doing that. We have a whole finance team in our virtual office doing that stuff. I have to confess, our CFO has a very easy time of it these days because it's all done in our back office. What about IT management? That's another thing. That's all done in our virtual office. Do you like doing events? Do you have time for planning events? That's all done in our virtual office. So the event planning, all I do is I say, we've been doing events for 20 years, so you know we have fairly well documented processes for how we do the events, so it's a very easy thing to hand over to a virtual assistant. What we'll do is we'll go through our annual marketing plan, and I'll say, look, let's do some breakfast seminars here, we'll do a half-day one here, we'll do a full-day event here of this format, and the virtual team will book the venues, organise you know, any audio-visual support that we need. Basically, all I have to do is to think about the topic and, you know, the format of the event. They will do the event marketing. So I've actually got quite good at that. So they'll be doing email marketing, social media marketing, paid adverts, you know, everything you can think of, telemarketing, all of that to make, you know, and events are so hard these days. It's hard to get people to come along. So that's fantastic support that they do all of that. I just come up with the ideas for the event and they make it all happen. So, gee, I think I've kind of filled up that that 2x2 matrix. I could fill up 10 of these. But that's related to my business. Have a think about your business for a moment. Just think, you know, what would be the things that a virtual assistant could do for you right now if you took one on board? What are some of these things that you could give them? You know, simple tasks which are just going to give you so many hours back, you know, and I reckon you'd get at least 10 hours a week back just by handing those over. And then, you know, in whatever time frame, couple of months or something, as they start to understand your business better, get them to start doing these things. And then down here, you know, a lot of this value added stuff that you would never have got to without this sort of support. But I will put in a word of warning. You're probably looking at this and thinking, well, one person couldn't do all of that. No, they probably can't. And generally what happens when people first get into using virtual assistants is they get them doing this stuff. And they love it, and it's great value. And you know, the clients get so much value out of someone just taking that off their plate. Then the really smart people who are utilizing virtual assistants get them into this stuff pretty quick. And then they probably hire a second one to start doing this, and a third one, and a fourth one. That's really how I started. I started with one who was a personal assistant. I have now 5 who work directly to me. So my executive assistant manages another 4. And then I think we have another 6 supporting, 8 supporting IT and finance. And you know, and the team just sort of grows as we need it. It's a fantastic concept. But anyway, I'm rambling. Where all this came about, someone was just asking me, what should I actually start with my first virtual assistant? There you go. We've mapped it all out. I hope that's been of help to you. If you have any questions about that process or feedback or tips maybe for other people, if you're already using virtual assistants, do please comment below, because I love to see the comments. Happy to answer any questions that you have. And do remember, we have videos coming out every Wednesday, so if you enjoyed this one, if you're not subscribed, hit subscribe. If you hit that little bell, I think you'll get automatic notifications when we post the next video. If you have friends that you think can use this sort of information, please do share it. But most of all, thank you for joining us this week. I really hope that you've got some value out of this video, and look forward to seeing you next week.